Sonic Boom and Sonic Movie Crossover Book 3 Scrambled and Over Easy. An Eggman attack was inevitable. The presence of interdimensional doubles would not change that. Mechanical wars could be heard and the signature robots swarmed around the group of 8 and fired off a few laser shots, each of them narrowly missing the group and scorching the earth below them.
Oh great, just what we needed.
Scarf Sonic took note of how many bots there were around them. It was a pretty standard amount, only a few more than normal, and he didn't see anything new. So unless Eggman was hiding some kind of secret plan, this fight would be over in no time.
Tremble, rodents!
Eggman loudly announced his presence as he normally would.
Hey, can we rest till we have guests?
Scarf Sonic had no desire to deal with Eggman today and did not want to get their melee version involved in an actual fight.
No. I've been this all week and I even know about Incubot Polish all night at bots. It's the details that really make a battle special. Not that any of you ever appreciate that. Now prepare to meet your Waynold on what's going on. Who are they?
Eggman caught sight of the 3 extras that stood with the team.
Oh, they're us from a different dimension.
Goggled Tails addressed Eggman casually.
Wait, didn't we do this already? Or was this whole thing about both realities implying it on themselves?
Oh, there was, but there's enough differences so that they are completely safe.
Goggled Tails calmly reassured.
Now that makes sense.
Team Sonic were used to having casual conversations with Eggman during battle and found nothing unusual about the current situation. The Wachowski brothers, on the other hand, were very confused. This man was attacking them and had paused for casual conversation. What was this, a cartoon? No longer concerned about the risk of an interdimensional implosion, Eggman took time to quick study the doubles. They were smaller and looked younger, so Eggman didn't think they'd be much of a threat. Yes, this would be perfect. Team Sonic would have to constantly be keeping an eye on them and be distracted from battle.
This is all better for me. You are going to have to babysit these little children and won't be able to watch your backs. They'll only get in the way. This is the day I win.
Don't underestimate them, Eggman. They're taller than they look.
Team Sonic were still unnerved about Little Knuckles' display of power earlier. Seeing the electricity arc all over the little Echido had been frightening.
But they are so tiny. What are they going to do? Kick in the shins? Me puppy dog eyes. The red imps are smaller than this word's tails. I really don't see how they're going to be a threat.
That was a bad thing to say. The 3 looked furious now.
You're Eggman, aren't you?
The little hedgehog was quivering. His quills were puffed up and blue lightning started to arc between them.
Wait, hold on, what's happening? What's with the light show?
Eggman was spooked. Why were they glowing? He wasn't an expert, but he was pretty sure that kids don't normally glow or have lightning spark all over them.
Listen up, Robotic. You just picked a fight with the fastest being in the galaxy. The fox who's tinkering out classes the top scientist for some planets and the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy. And what have you got? Some numbnuts.
Hey, I'll show you bots. Robots, attack.
Eggman's battle cry sent the bots into attack mode, swarming the group of intros. Little Knuckles struck every bot that came close, the mechanical attackers standing no chance against his fists. Seeing that battle had begun, Little Sonic darted between the small bots, destroying large groups of them in seconds, sending blue electricity sparking through the air. Little Tails pulled 2 things from his backpack. One, a weird little yellow triangle that unfolded into a bladed boomerang. The second was something changed with a yellow energy that looked a lot like the ones that surrounded Sonic and Knuckles. It turned out to be a laser blaster. Tails switched between throwing his boomerang and firing his laser blaster at Eggman's robots. Team Sonic only ended up having to with 1 or 2 bots each. The littler versions had easily dealt with the horde of bots, proving themselves as formidable fighters. With most of the bots Egan had brought scattered in pieces around them, the Tri turned their sights on Egan. Each of their eyes were alight, and the color-coded electricity was violently crackling around them.
Wait, hold on. Robots defend.
The few remaining bots fell back from their positions and blocked the Tri's path towards Egan, but the trio continued their approach at the now cowering human.
Wait.
Team Sonic darted in front of Egan and flinched, hoping that the smaller versions would stop in time. Fortunately, they did, but the electricity around them did not fade.
Why are you defending him? You yourself said he attacks the village.
Look, Eggman's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy.
The trio exchanged a confused look.
So does that mean he doesn't want to destroy you?
No, I still do, but like in a charming love-to-hate kind of way.
Eggman can actually be really nice. Remember when he sacrificed getting rid of the turning into an adorable little purple thing saved to bet the shrew?
The rest of Team Sonic showed their agreement with Emmy. Normally, Egan would have loudly disputed being called good and nice, but he really didn't feel like getting beaten up by the pin-sized powerhouses. Thank you very much. Little Sonic was the first to calm down, thinking for a moment and then open his mouth to speak.
So you're not going to hurt us?
Egan wisely chose to keep his mouth shut and let his rivals speak in his place.
We fight Eggman like every week. At this point, it's just a rounding.
Goggle Tails explained offhandedly.
Come to think of it, I can't recall the last time we got badly hurt in a battle against him.
The rest of Team Sonic thought on Emmy's question and found themselves in agreement. Eggman wanted to yell. Sonic and his friends were downplaying his impact as a villain, but if he tried to debate it, the surprisingly strong smaller versions might attack him.
Are you annoyances done? I might not be that bad, but still have a reputation, you know.
Styx gave him a side eye.
Yeah, he's still pretty rude though.
Each member of Team Sonic told a story of a moment when Eggman wasn't that bad. Sonic told the events of the Buddy Temple and how they worked together, at first begrudgingly with a couple of betrayals, but by the end of it they were actually having fun together and parted on good terms. Tails awkwardly muttered about Eggman's good advice when he was attempting to flirt with Zoe. Knuckles made a joke about him acting like the weird uncle that everyone knows of to some of the younger members of the village. Emmy gushed about how fun of a fuzzy puppy buddy he was to play with, and that he actually played fair. Well, for a majority of the time, there had been a couple of unfair plays lately, but nothing too extreme. Styx was talking about something no one was really sure what, but there was certainly sentiment there.
So being a villain is sort of like a job for you.
Little Tails tilted his head in contemplation. Each of Team Sonic as well as Eggman stopped and had an expression of realization on their faces.
Oh, when you think about it, you gotta like my incredibly intriguing coworkers.
Wait, you are our coworker. How come you haven't paid us yet?
The taller Knuckles scratched his head in confusion.
They said coworker, not boss. Do you even know how a job works?
Nope, not at all.
Oh, don't complain. It's not like I'm getting paid either. What do you think I start all those extra businesses, running a high-tech evil air and rebuilding all those butts in shape, you know?
They then took time to give a quick recap of the yesterday afternoon's and this morning's events.
And tomorrow afternoon we'll be going into the other world to drop them off.
And how you plan to return?
Oh, none of them had thought that through.
Your stunned silence is not reassuring in the slightest.
Do you have a plan, Egghead?
Ignoring the theme calling. Yes, I do. You said one of your inventions broke them here, so we'll need a copy of it in the other world to return.
The surrounding Anthros all had an expression of awe on their faces.
We'll need the original and work on its copy. Sonic, could you...
Goggle Tails didn't get to finish his sentence before Scarf Sonic had dashed off and returned to them with the dimensional crossing device in hand.
Got it?
Edmund looked over it.
I think I've got all the parts we need in my lab. Do you still have the blueprints?
Goggletails gave a thumbs up.
Good, it shouldn't take long then.
Edmund then got back into his Eggmobile and got it running. The smaller trail looked tense at the sight of the Eggmobile starting up and walked, so Team Sonic was in between them and Eggin. Each of the trio had a very different reaction to the inside of the lair. Little Knuckles was unnerved and flinched at every mechanical noise he heard and eyed the room with suspicion. He would also keep flicking his gaze towards Eggin, refusing to let the man out of sight or anywhere near him or his younger brothers. Little Tails had quickly been fascinated by Orbot and Cubot. The little fox was amazed by the sentient robots and had made his way over to talk to them. He was noticeably anxious. Both his tails were swishing around, but he still ended up bombarding the two bots with questions. Little Sonic's face was in a state of awe. Everything seemed interesting to him, and he would point out everything that caught his eye to his brothers.
Oh, what's this thing?
Little Sonic had zipped over to the wall and pointed to an item on a shelf.
Oh, that's an improved arm I've been working on for Momot. It's supposed to have a small gravitational push and pull so she can lift things easier, but I can't get the gravity to work on such a small and precise scale.
Eggman grumbled and crossed his arms.
Anyway, Taller Tails, I'm going to need you show me your invention properly. Everyone else, do whatever, I don't care. Just don't break anything. Got it?
Sure, Egghead, we'll be careful. Won't we, everyone?
Various voice muttered and nods could be seen.
I suppose that's as good as I'll get.
Eggman and Goggletail's discussion faded into background noise, and the rest of the room was left to themselves. Most of the room didn't know what they were going to do in the meantime, but Little Tails did. He knew exactly what he was going to spend his time on. He used his tails to fly up to the shelf and grab the abandoned arm prototype. The little fox grabbed a small disc out of his backpack as well as some tools. Orbot and Cubot, who had stuck next to the little fox, peered over his shoulder.
What are you doing?
I'm fixing the arm.
May I ask why?
I'm your Gust, and I want to be a good Gust.
Team Sonic and the two bots weren't quite sure that fixing up a failed invention was normally part of being a good Gust, but the little fox seemed to know what he was doing, so no one commented. Eggman worked with the tails he was familiar with to create a copy of the dimensional crossing device. Between the two of them and the fact that it was a recreation they were making, they found the process was going along smoothly.
Excuse me.
Eggman turned and found the Tenny Fox standing next to Orbot and Cubot. Eggman had to admit the Tenny Fox looked very adorable. He was a polite, smart, curious kid with seemingly a streak of scheming mischief to him. Not that he would admit it out loud, but the Mini Fox was definitely his favorite. The Mini Hedgehog was far too hyperactive, and the Mini Echidna scared him.
I've worked with gravity stuff before, so I fixed this.
The little fox stood on his tippy toes and handed him something. It was the upgrade arm for Mombot.
Where did you get the extra parts for this?
The little fox remained silent, ears twitching, looking off to the side with a guilty expression.
I found them.
That was concerning. He'd have to check to see if anything was missing later.
Good job. Now stop distracting me. I have work to do.
Little Tails seemed happy at getting a compliment and skipped back over to the rest of the group. Eggman carefully put the arm down and went back to work. The littler Echidna had not stopped glaring him, and Eggman was finding it harder and harder to work under the piercing glare.
Hey, you mind? I'm trying to work here.
Eggman tossed down his tool and turned to confront him.
Forgive if I do not fully trust the counterpart of the man who almost killed us on multiple occasions.
Look, like it or not, I'm helping you.
You are still his counterpart.
Waxman and me. Eggman just wants to help. Was your Eggman really that bad?
That seemed to strike a nerve.
Yes, he really wasn't a nice guy. At first I think he wanted to use me as a power source. Then he just wanted to kill me for revenge.
He was cruel and only cared for his goals and didn't care what got in his way. Our parents were almost killed by him as well.
And he nearly killed us multiple times too. And he carelessly tore up the town trying to beat us.
Well, that guy sounded mean. Sure, Eggman was a villain, but he'd never do something that genuinely cruel. His lifelong evil dream to build a theme park over the village. Not all of that. It was then when Eggman noticed something. They were only describing robotic in past tense. When he questioned this, the answer he got chilled them to the bone.
He's dead.
The room was silent.
Actually, we don't know if he's dead or not. We haven't heard from him since the battle a few months ago, but they never found a body, so we don't actually know.
Little Tails chimed in, wringing his hand together. The smaller trio were shifting uncomfortably, and colored electricity was arching over their bodies, emphasizing their distress. Eggman couldn't be mad anymore. Hearing about how willing to hurt kids his counterpart was a... Eggman took pride in being an evil genius, but he drew the line at killing kids, threatening them and stealing candy from the shore, but actually hurting them was a no-no.
The nerve of that guy! Some villains just don't know where to draw the line. I bet he doesn't even respect the bro code.
Little Sonic snickered.
The bro code? That makes you sound like you're a cartoon villain. You don't seem so scary now.
He's got the losing every week down.
Eggman grumbled at the tall hedgehog.
I'm glad you find my suffering so enjoyable.
Oh, come on, Eggman. At least you still get to visit the village. Without anyone being that scared of you. Honey, that's probably not something a villain trying to overtake said village would consider a compliment.
Don't think I didn't notice those air quotes, Fox. I may not want to hurt the kids, but I'm still an evil mastermind capable of destroying you if I wanted to.
We'll beat you just like we do every time. You got no chance, Eggy.
You don't beat me every time. It's 50-50 at best.
You're right, face it, you're just not that bad of a villain.
Sure. I'll show you just how bad of a villain I am. Robots.
A small group of robots rolled into the room, far too little to cause Team Sonic to feel alarmed.
Pardon me, Dr. Eggman, but aren't we supposed to be hospitable to our guests?
Yeah, and we're supposed to be nice to them, too.
Eggman grumbled and sent his bots back where they came from.
Fine. If I'm not that bad of a villain, why don't you let me take over the village next time? See how it goes then.
No way. We're not letting you take over. You so want to turn it into the theme park. Those places are massive scams. You can't win anything, it's all rigged and overpriced. And I can't risk getting fired. No one even hired you. You can't get fired, Knucklehead.
Little Tails and Sonic slaughter at the situation in front of them interrupted the bantering.
Look what you've done. You did the witty banter. Now the argument's lost its flow.
Eggman turned away from Team Sonic, who looked very proud of themselves.
You're just like that guy from that cartoon we watched. The one with the cool inventions and the secret agent. You're a villain, but fun.
The little hedgehog sitting next to his brothers and smiling.
I think you're pretty funny. I don't think you're scary either.
The little fox looked far less anxious and was sitting calmly. Little Knuckles' face had softened and his glare disappeared, and he suddenly looked so young, Eggman felt his heart twist at the sight. He had seen how small they were and the other two had moments where they had shown their youth, but this was the first time that the little Echidna had shown how young he was. These three really were Kids who had gone through far too much. Eggman felt admiration towards the three brothers with everything they'd been through. Maybe once the portal was running more efficiently he could visit. Maybe he could even bring along gifts. The Fox Kid was quite the talented inventor. Oh, Tall Knuckles was right. He's such uncle. Little Knuckles walked over to him and held out a hand.
I have now been convinced of your role as an Ollie and your intentions of helping us.
Eggman had to kneel down to be closer to his height. Looming over the tinny Echidna saw probably not a good idea. Eggman felt pain the moment he accepted the handshake. He felt like yelling out, but screaming like a goat would damage his image even more than it already was, so Eggman chose grit his teeth. Little Sonic dashed over and looked at Eggman's hand in awe.
Oh, your hand is okay. Nothing's broken. Did it hurt at all?
Eggman's eyes widened. They were expecting him to get his hand hurt.
No, perfectly fine.
Eggman lied. His hand hurt a lot, but nothing was broken.
Nice going, Knux.
Little Sonic patted the Echidna on the shoulder with a proud expression, who seemed quite happy to hear Eggman say that his hand was okay.
Now go away. I need to finish off the device and I don't want to be disturbed.
The little Echidna and Hedgehog went back to Launderia and sat down. Both were now willing to ignore Eggman and pay attention to the... It didn't take much longer for Eggman and Goggled Tails to finish the dimensional crossover device.
We've done it!
The taller fox called out and Eggman put the completed dimensional crossing device on the bench. Everyone got up to look at it.
So now we wait, but we've got like an entire day left.
Unfortunately. I'm sure we can do something to pass the time.
Emmy began to think up ideas for fun activities they could do with the group of kids.
The floor is lava.
The yellowhead came from nowhere and startled everyone in the room. Little Sonic was already on the couch before he finished his sentence, sitting up on the back of the couch smugly. Little Tails just flew himself up with a cheeky grin. Most of Team Sonic plus Eggman stood in confusion, but Sticks and Tall Knuckles took the idea very seriously and scrambled up onto the couch. Sticks was the first onto the couch and refused to let Tall Knuckles onto the couch.
Oh no, you're not hopping up here. Too many people in the lava boat sinks. I'm letting that happen. Not again.
Tall Knuckles yelled dramatically as Sticks pushed him off the couch.
No, Sticks, how could you betray me like this?
Do not worry. I will not let my counterpart fall here.
Little Knuckles reached out a hand and pulled up his counterpart with ease, not finding the larger Echidna heavy enough to be a problem.
Hey!
Six yelled indignantly, clearly displeased that the larger Echidna had been pulled up onto the couch.
How'd when you all died in the lava?
Little Sonic playfully teased the people that remained on the floor.
We didn't want to die.
Cobot, you are okay. Floor's Lava is a popular children's game. It is a game of agility, balance, reaction time, and awareness of your surroundings. Many children also add elements of pretend to increase the stakes. We will be safe.
Also, you're flooding. I see that counts.
Little Tails was still flying just above the ground, so it made sense that he'd say their floating counts.
They didn't even do anything. Isn't the point to get somewhere quickly so you don't burn?
Emmy raised her eyebrows and crossed her arms.
You can't comprehend. You're burning.
Sticks, I'm not going to.
Oh, come on, Emmy, don't be a party pooper.
Tall Knuckles gave a pleading look. Emmy sighed.
Han!
She sat down on one of Eggman's footstools. Goggled Tails flew into the air and all eyes turned to Eggman and Scarf Sonic.
You're not going to give up until we join in, aren't you?
The rest of the room nodded. Eggman sat on one of the footstools and Sonic sat on a bench. Eggman felt displeased at seeing that Orbot and Kubot had just cleaned it this morning. Some people have no respect. Soon they came to realize that the sun had set a while ago and everyone was starting to get hungry. Even though Orbot couldn't eat, he enjoyed cooking, so when it was time for dinner he and Emmy made their way to the kitchen to prepare dinner. The little trio had followed along with the instance that they help. Eggman was concerned for the future of his kitchen, so he went along as supervision. Scarf Sonic wanted to make sure Eggman didn't start any schemes, so dashed to the kitchen before everyone else. The rest of the people in the house had decided to remain on the couch and wait for dinner. Over in the kitchen, Emmy and Orbot laid the cooking while Sonic and Eggman stood off to the side, occasionally adding commentary. The little trio were doing their best to help, but were at a huge disadvantage. The things in the house were designed for Eggman and his height, so the things were already tall enough to be an inconvenience for most of Team Sonic. But for the younger versions it was a struggle. Eggman and Sonic had to hold their breath to hide their laughs when little Knuckles was far too short to reach the counter. The little echidna shot them a glare.
Maybe you three can help us with something else.
Emmy kneeled down to hand some bowls and measuring cups to them. She gave them directions on the amounts she needed, and they would diligently measure them out. Orbot and Emmy found them very helpful, even though there was the occasional spill caused by brotherly bickering. But other than that, cooking dinner went smoothly and 9 steaming hot bowls of pesto were ready to eat. Once dinner was finished and cleaned up, little Sonic was still full of energy and had no sign of settling down anytime soon. He was still bouncing around with as much cheer as ever. For once Eggman was glad that he was bald. This day would have sent him gray. Scarf Sonic had an exhausted expression on his face. The tall hedgehog had been the main target of the smaller hedgehog's excitement.
I have an idea. Why don't we all watch a movie?
Emmy clapped her hands together and gave a cheerful grin.
Well, that sounds fun.
Oh, how wonderful. I'll fetch the doctor's famous personally designed Rissot cookies and hot chocolate.
Orbot sipped off with Kubot in tow. While everyone else was off debating what movie to watch, the taller versions of Sonic and Tails considered telling everyone that Eggman's special ingredient was garlic. Should they be nice and give a warning, or a little mean and watch them experience the same fate they did? Their choice didn't matter. The movie had been chosen and the hot chocolate and cookies all handed out. Man, those bots work fast. One moment of truth. Emmy and Tall Knuckles looked very displeased with the flavor. Sticks spat out crying poison and the little trio acted unbothered.
Well, what's in this?
Emmy eyed her cookie with suspicion.
That would be garlic. That's my special ingredient, you know. Adds it that extra kick.
Blah, feel like someone's dirty foot kicked me in the tongue.
I don't know what you are talking about, Counterpart. It tastes fine to me.
Small Knuckles brothers nodded in agreement with him and each reached for another one.
How are you guys eating that?
Stick's voice came outward because she was trying to get the taste off her tongue. Little Sonic shrugged.
We've all eaten for worse.
And continued to munch on the garlic-flavored cookies. No one wanted to know what that meant.
Well, at least someone appreciates my cookies. If you don't want them, we can eat them all.
Team Sonic were perfectly content to let Eggman and the little trio eat the garlic cookies. The movie had long since finished and been turned off, and the room had drifted off into snores and sleepy noises. Orbot and little Knuckles were watching each other silently in the darkness. The two of them plus Kubot were the only ones currently awake. The rest were lounging in all sorts of positions throughout the room. Most were breathing lightly, but there was the occasional evil laugh-like snore could be heard from Eggman.
You should sleep. You are, after all, still a child.
Orbot and Cubot were fortunate that their Egan had installed their eyes with night vision, otherwise they would not have seen the change in the Echida's expression.
I am not thy child. I am the eldest of my brothers and the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy. I can take care of myself and them.
The two robots gave a concerned look. He was definitely within the age of adolescent, but he was constantly on edge. The two bots thought about what they should do to help. Hood turned.
You intimated that, wait. We can't help with that.
Cubot brightened the light in his eyes. Little Knuckles found something about that action entertaining, and he gave a small chuckle.
I can be my night.
Cubot brightened the light in his eyes. Little Knuckles found something about that action entertaining, and he gave a small chuckle.
Ah, he's gone. You robot. We're robots. Not to be afraid.
I don't think he is a robot, my friend.
Then why is there electricity oven? Shared with Warbit.
It's checkmate, and I don't know. In all the textbooks I have downloaded on Elosense, none of them mention glowing.
I often hear that my brothers and I strange.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being a little strange.
Yeah, the boss calls us strange all the time between his insults and this was.
If he treats you so unfairly, why do you still yourselves with him?
Well, he is our creator, and I think he really does actually care about us. He's just bad at admitting it.
Ahmad?
Yeah, and it's for two.
Knuckles laughed joyfully.
You two are entertaining. You would do poorly in battle, and I doubt you could defeat a foe on your own. But my youngest brother likes you. I will trust his judgment.
Oh, goody.
Orbot clasped his hands together with a cheery exclamation. Knuckles let the glow around his body fade, and the two bots set their eyes to the dimmest glow they could. And the last of the organic beings went off to sleep.
Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey.
Orbot cheerily welcomed the group into the kitchen to a large breakfast already laid out on the table. There was plenty of food for everyone.
Well, it's only a few more hours and then you can go home.
Emmy sat down in the empty chair next to Little Sonic, who had already polished off all his breakfast.
I can't wait to show guys around Green Hills.
Little Sonic figured it with his knife and fork, eventually shifting into a rhythmic drumming pattern and swinging his legs back and forth on the chair that was far too high for the little hedgehog. Little Tails swallowed his mouthful of food and voiced his thoughts.
I hope Mom and Dad are okay.
The three brothers froze and looked at each other with concerned faces.
Mother and Father don't know where we are.
Goggle Tails responded to Little Knuckles' worry with an awkward laugh.
Right? That's our fault. Do you think they're gonna be mad?
Now, Donut Lord and Pretzel Lady are really great. They'll probably be upset, but they'll love you.
Orbot placed down another plate of food in front of Sonic, who thanked him and began to hungrily eat it down.
Oh, this is so good. Great job, Ballbot.
Wait.
Orbot looked at him with confusion and pointed to himself.
Yeah, and her last night was really good, too.
Working with Der Eggman, he never really got that many compliments, so getting one meant a lot to the bot. If he could blush, definitely would. They still had a few more hours to waste before they could travel to the other world, and there was currently a war going on in Eggman's lair. Little Sonic had started it. Apparently him being bored was as dangerous as his taller counterpart. He had been tossing around a ball and had fumbled it and hit his Tails in the back of the head. Little Tails took it good naturally, but had dramatically grabbed a cardboard tube from Eggman's recycling and charged forwards and bonked him on the head. Sonic retaliated by grabbing a tube himself and bonking his brother back. Pretty soon Orbot and Cubot got roped in, and it became Sonic and Tails, Orbot and Cubot. Cubot ended up landing a very good bonk on Tails and sent him tumbling to the ground. This prompted little Knuckles to join in to avenge his brother. Styx had quickly joined in on her own side entirely. Somehow Scarf Sonic had become the target of all three team and was zipping around the room trying to avoid 5 different cardboard tubes.
Hey, this is unfair. I'm unarmed, Amy. Now Tails, help me, please.
The rest of Team Sonic were not being helpful at all and were laughing at the poor Blue Hedgehog's plight. Eggman was less amused. The fighting was getting far too close to some very breakable things.
2 hours? Just 2 more hours. Just gotta stop them from breaking things for 2 hours.